over fields of green, remembering the faces, the moments unseen, the hands that built a dynasty, the vision in their eyes, echoes in the auction barn beneath an endless sky. This is the bovine, turn the volume high, for the icons of the ages that never will die. From the show ring thunder to the quiet strength they knew, hear their stories now, coming right on through.
Hey there, dairy folks. Welcome back to the Bovine Podcast. I'm your host, and today I've got an absolutely incredible story to share with you. It's about a cow that literally rewrote the history books of Holstein breeding. And trust me, by the time I'm done telling you this tale, you're going to understand why this one red-carrying Holstein changed everything. Picture this scene for a moment. It's August 2008, and you're sitting in a packed sale arena. The energy is electric, hearts are racing, and the bidding has reached levels that nobody, and I mean nobody, had ever imagined possible for a dairy cow. $1 million. Can you even wrap your head around that? When that hammer finally fell, KHW Regiment Apple Red ET hadn't just shattered every sales record in Holstein history. She had announced to the entire cattle world that the genetic revolution begun by her remarkable mother was far from over. That mother, my friends, was Kamps-Hollow Altitude-ET RC. Born on a cold January morning in 2000, this Durham daughter would become the most influential Red Holstein cow in modern breeding history. But here's the thing. On that winter day when she drew her first breath, absolutely nobody could have predicted that this little calf would single-handedly transform an entire segment of the Holstein breed. Let me paint you the bigger picture here. More than 80% of Red Holsteins at major shows today trace back to her bloodlines. 80%. That's not just influence, that's genetic domination on a scale that's almost incomprehensible. Now, this story doesn't actually begin with Altitude herself. It starts with three college friends whose shared vision would reshape Holstein breeding forever. Picture Ryan Kamps, Mark Hogg, and Ryan Weigel, young men with big dreams and an eye for exceptional cattle. Together, they formed KHW Genetics. And folks, these guys were about to make history. They were later recognized as Wisconsin's distinguished young Holstein breeders in 2014, but back then, they were just passionate young breeders with ambition. The foundation for their incredible success was laid at a dispersal sale in November 1998. Richard Kamps made what would prove to be one of the most prescient purchases in Holstein history. At the Clover-Mist dispersal in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, he acquired Clover-Mist Augie Star EX94, along with her young prelude daughter, Alicia. Here's where it gets really interesting. In that barn at Clover-Mist, there was this legendary cow called DRA August EX96. Everyone just called her the White Cow. She was an absolute icon, standing in the end box stall and producing three 94-point daughters. Through Augie Star and Alicia, that extraordinary maternal line was about to find its way to Kamps-Hollow, setting the stage for everything that would follow. So Altitude is born on January 11th, 2000, carrying within her genes a convergence of Holstein excellence that breeders literally dream about but rarely achieve. Her pedigree read like a who's who of breed legends. She was sired by Durham, and let me tell you about Durham. This bull was known for transmitting long bodies, broad rumps, and well-attached udders. He was a 5-time premier sire at World Dairy Expo from 2003 to 2007. That's the kind of genetic power we're talking about here. But Altitude was destined to be so much more than just the sum of her illustrious parts. As she matured in those freestall barns at Kamps-Hollow, her own excellence became absolutely undeniable. She eventually classified EX95 USA2 EDOM. That's a score that placed her among the elite 5% of Holstein cows for conformation. Think about that for a moment. Out of hundreds of thousands of Holstein cows, she was in the top 5% for physical excellence. And her production? Oh my goodness, let me tell you about her production records. By her 7th lactation, she was producing 39,690 pounds of milk with an exceptional 4.7% butterfat. Those are the kind of numbers that literally turn red ink to black on dairy farm financial statements. That's the kind of performance that keeps family dairy farms viable in an increasingly challenging economic environment. But here's what made Altitude truly special, and this is where the story gets really exciting. Her true genius lay in her extraordinary ability as a brood cow. You see, in the unpredictable world of cattle breeding, exceptional parents don't always produce exceptional offspring. But Altitude? She possessed that rarest of gifts, the consistent ability to transmit superiority across generations and through diverse genetic combinations. The first hint of Altitude's genetic prowess came through her son KHW Kite Advent Red ET. Now, let me tell you about Advent, because this bull was nothing short of legendary. In the competitive world of red and white Holstein breeding, his dominance was so complete that he claimed the premier sire banner at the Grand International Red and White Show at World Dairy Expo for 7 consecutive years. 7 years. That's unprecedented. For breeders across Wisconsin and beyond, watching Advent's offspring mature became like a masterclass in genetic consistency. His daughters displayed what admirers called excellent frames and open rib structure, the kind of cattle that caught judges' eyes and commanded premium prices at sales. The numbers behind Advent's success tell an incredible story. He sired over 400 excellent daughters in the United States and Canada combined, with 105 earning All-American nominations in just 5 years. When 41 of those daughters achieved All-American or Reserve All-American status, it represented more than just ribbons and trophies. It represented increased asset values for the families who owned them. Advent's journey to artificial insemination wasn't without challenges, and this shows you the resilience that defines our industry. Initially purchased by select sires, he encountered a health issue with leukosis and was subsequently offered to Glazeway Enterprises before being leased back to select sires. But you know what? His popularity absolutely soared once his calves began dominating show rings with their exceptional frames and open rib structure. Now, if Advent established Altitude's reputation as a producer of sires, it was her daughter KHW Regiment Apple Red ET who would make her a household name throughout the global Holstein community. Apple Red, born in May 2004, possessed this rare combination of show ring glamour, production excellence, and genetic potency that absolutely captivated the cattle world. Picture this. In the early morning hours at barns across North America, farm families would gather around their laptops and phones, watching Apple Red's show career unfold with the dedication of sports fans following their favorite team. Her breakthrough moment came at the 2006 World Dairy Expo, when she captured the Junior 2 Holstein class. Think about the significance of this, a red cow triumphing in a world traditionally dominated by black and whites. For red breed enthusiasts who had long felt like an overlooked minority in the Holstein world, this victory felt like pure vindication. But 2008 was when Apple Red truly made history. At auction, bidding reached that unprecedented sum of $1 million. $1 million. The sale generated international headlines and brought previously unimaginable attention to the Red Holstein breed. For small dairy farmers watching the coverage, this was validation that exceptional genetics commanded exceptional value, and that sound breeding decisions could literally transform the economic prospects of an entire operation. Yet Apple Red's influence extended far beyond the show ring and sale barn. Her impact as a brood cow has been nothing short of revolutionary. She holds the distinction of being the first Red Holstein with over 100 excellent daughters worldwide. Let me say that again, over 100 excellent daughters. That's 83 in the United States and 16 in Canada. For commercial dairy farmers, this productivity translated to something more valuable than any ribbon, genetic consistency they could bank on, generation after generation. While Advent was conquering North American show rings and Apple Red was captivating the cattle world with her celebrity status, Altitude's influence was quietly spreading across continents through another of her offspring, Jotun Red ET. This Jordan son, introduced by the German AI Masterrind in 2005, became the European trailblazer for the Altitude family's international expansion. In the rolling dairy country of the Netherlands, farmers discovered that Jotan Red's daughters were literally transforming their operations. These late-maturing cows with excellent rumps and strong feet and legs thrived under various management conditions, carrying their productive lives through longer lactations than farmers had dared hope for. Jotan Red became a sales phenomenon, ultimately producing nearly 18,000 daughters in at least 10 countries. 18,000. His popularity in Eastern European countries was particularly notable, as farmers discovered that his daughters delivered exactly what commercial dairy operations needed: functional cattle that converted feed efficiently while maintaining their structural integrity through multiple lactations. The success of Jotan Red proved that Altitude's genetics weren't just American show-ring curiosities. They were foundational bloodlines that could improve dairy herds anywhere. Exceptional cattle were valued. Now, as the dairy industry evolved into the genomic era, many people wondered whether traditional cow families would maintain their relevance in a world increasingly driven by DNA-based selection. At farms across North America, breeders held their breath as genomic test results arrived, hoping their favorite bloodlines would translate to these new digital scoreboards. Altitude's daughter KHW Goldwyn-ET RC provided the definitive answer. This Goldwyn daughter achieved a remarkable GTPI of 2050, demonstrating that Altitude's genetics didn't just adapt to genomic evaluation, they excelled under its criteria. For breeders who had invested their futures in Altitude bloodlines, ICO's success represented more than validation. It was their ticket to continued relevance in an increasingly competitive marketplace. ICO's global appeal was evident in the demand for her genetics, with embryos sold to 6 countries. Her offspring continued the family's tradition of excellence, including daughters that became elite genomic performers and sons that earned high rankings in Germany. This proved the international appeal of Altitude genetics across gender lines. You know, the true test of any genetic program isn't show ring victories or auction prices. It's performance in commercial dairy operations, where profit margins depend on cows that calve easily, milk heavily, and breed back efficiently. At Coaster Dairy in Illinois, one of America's leading production herds with an average of over 36,000 pounds of milk per cow, the Altitude influence shines through descendants that prove their worth every single milking. Take K-Star Frazzled Ruby, for example. She's fresh for her second lactation and milking 145 pounds daily, representing the practical application of Altitude genetics. In a herd that has won the Holstein Association's Herd of Excellence Award for 5 consecutive years, Ruby's presence demonstrates how elite genetics translate to operational success. For the Coaster operation, which pushes feed to their cattle 12 times daily and maintains the intensive management that elite production demands, the Altitude bloodlines deliver the metabolic efficiency and structural soundness that make such performance sustainable. These aren't pampered show cows. They're working dairy cattle that convert feed to milk with the efficiency that keeps family dairy farms viable. The dairy industry's recognition of Altitude's extraordinary impact came through multiple prestigious awards. In 2009, she was named Red Impact Cow of the Year by Holstein International, specifically acknowledging her profound influence on the global red-white Holstein population. That same year, Wisconsin Governor Jim Doyle proclaimed her Wisconsin Cow of the Year. Perhaps most tellingly, every bull she put into stud made the active lineup, a remarkable testament to her consistent ability to produce high-quality sons desired by artificial insemination organizations. The transformation Altitude brought to Red Holstein breeding was so complete that today, any Red Holstein or RC bull without an intensive link to her or her famous descendants is embraced as an outcross sire. That's how tremendous her influence became in the international Red Holstein population. At Drowner Holsteins in the northern Netherlands, the Albring family's experience with Altitude genetics demonstrates how exceptional bloodlines adapt to different management systems. When Harm Albring reflects on their investment in embryos out of KHW Goldwyn-ET 9 years ago, he's describing a breeding decision that transformed their operation. The family characterizes their ICOs as late maturity cattle that look a bit round as heifers, but they all continue developing. This trait has proven to be an asset in their management system, providing the predictability that allows dairy farmers to plan their replacement strategies with confidence. When their herd averages over 86 points for black and whites and more than 87 points for red and whites, combined with production averaging 22,700 pounds, they're demonstrating how Altitude genetics contribute to the kind of balanced excellence that sustains family dairy operations. When Altitude passed away at the age of 15 in July 2015, she left behind a genetic legacy that had already transformed Holstein breeding. Her influence extended through multiple generations of exceptional descendants that continue to dominate show rings, breeding programs, and AI catalogs worldwide. Ryan Kamps, reflecting on Altitude's impact, noted that she and her dam Alicia put Kamps-Hollow and KHW on the map as fantastic brood cows that transmit strongly generation after generation, with each generation seeming to get better. Today, that vision continues to unfold in barns across the globe. From the European descendants of Jotun Red to the latest genomic stars tracing back to Ico, from the show ring dynasties built on Apple Red's foundation to the commercial dairy herds benefiting from Altitude's production genetics, her influence touches virtually every corner of Red Holstein breeding. In the challenging environment facing modern dairy farming, where profit margins shrink, regulations tighten, and family operations compete against industrial-scale facilities, the Altitude legacy represents something invaluable: genetic consistency that farmers can depend on. Her descendants don't just win show rings. They populate the milk lines of farms where economic survival depends on cattle that calve easily, milk heavily, convert feed efficiently, and breed back reliably. The genetic echo of Kamps-Hollow Altitude-ET RC resonates through pedigrees, production records, and show ring victories on 6 continents. She was more than a great cow. She was a genetic cornerstone who proved that exceptional individuals can indeed change the trajectory of an entire breed. Her story reminds us that in agriculture, as in life, true greatness is measured not just by individual achievement, but by the lasting impact we have on future generations. Through her sons and daughters, grandsons and granddaughters, and the countless descendants yet to come, Kamps-Hollow Altitude-ET RC achieved a form of immortality that transcends her physical presence. She became a genetic force of nature whose influence will shape Holstein breeding for generations to come, a matriarch for the ages whose greatest achievements may still lie ahead in the offspring yet to be born, carrying forward her extraordinary legacy. And that, my friends, is the incredible story of how one red-carrying Holstein cow rewrote breeding history. From a cold January morning in 2000 to a genetic empire that spans the globe, Altitude's legacy continues to shape the cattle we breed and the dreams we pursue. Thanks for joining me on the Bovine Podcast today. Until next time, keep breeding excellence, and remember, sometimes the most extraordinary legacies begin with a single, exceptional individual who dares to be different.
This is the Bovine, turn the volume high, for the icons of the ages that never will die. From the show ring thunder to the quiet strength they knew, hear their stories now, coming right on through. Oh, tell the tale, the bovine legends live here.